Hello, welcome to the Recognitive channel, where we are about learning and relearning. This is a personal project that is sponsored by my free time. Let's talk about the law of triviality. In this video, we will talk about a definition of triviality, the description of the bias, and then some research behind it. Then we will give some examples of how it affects me and some strategies to overcome it. Triviality is defined as a lack of seriousness or importance, insignificance. It comes from the Latin trivialis, that meant street corner, commonplace, vulgar. I will depict the etymology of this word as quite interesting. Tri stands for three, and via stands for road. So trivialis would mean the place where three roads meet. Here you could expect people from different places would meet and trade, perhaps even share some gossips. Northcote Parkinson is the one that this law is attributed to. He wrote a book called Parkinson's Law, or The Pursuit of Progress. It is a very old book, but considered a management classic. This book is about the Parkinson Law, which states, work expands as to fill the time available for its completion. In later parts of this book, there is what is called the law of triviality, which states the time spent on any item of the agenda will be the inverse proportion to the sum of money involved. Right now, both seem very yummy topics to investigate, but let's address the topic of this video. Parkinson visualizes a decision committee of a city that is brought three different topics that have to be discussed today and a decision be made. The first one is a nuclear reaction, costing 10 million. The time to discuss the objections is 2.5 minutes, and only 2 people besides the chairman participate. The second item in the agenda is a bike shed, costing £350. More people participate, and the time to discuss and approve this is 45 minutes. Finally, the last item is the refreshments for the meetings of part of the council, costing £25 per year, and everyone in the committee participates in the discussion, and after 75 minutes, the session is over and no decision is made. Even though Parkinson states that this example is imaginary, I tried to fit the 3 data points into a trend line using a power equation. Please observe that we have logarithmic scales on both axes. I modified the coffee one to provide a better R value, but just by a little bit, like 30 minutes. I saw immediately that this is not the inverse proportion, just inverse. We also see that items in similar value will change in discussion time, but not drastically. Maybe people wouldn't notice. The practical implication is that for very important issues, you would not notice the variation in discussion time until it starts getting really small. Why are we thrown into trivial details? Parkinson states that when discussing a complex item, most people think that the knowledgeable people have already taken care of all the details. Another reason is that most of the participants in a meeting will not understand these complex topics, but once those are dealt, more tangible and concrete items arise, and they can participate. On top of this, when people have not participated in the complex items discussions, there will be a feeling of being left out or not contributing. So then they are obliged to comment in the items that they can comment, leaving their personal mark. Before I continue to tell you more about this bias, let's go to the sponsor of this video. Today we introduce unique stamps. Leave your unique mark in a project or committee. With this, you will be able to easily differentiate yourself from others by leaving your mark, your stamp in the work you participate in. You don't even have to contribute, just a stamp and some ink, and voila! Unique stamps can be custom made to your personality, spirit, desires, and personal career ambitions. Buy unique stamps now. Let's talk about some evidence search. I was not very satisfied with the equation that I got when I tried fitting the data suggested by Parkinson. Was it just rhetoric? I started doubting that there would be evidence proving such relationship. It was really hard to find any. Here's a short summary of the key points I found. Jo Jordan did an evaluation of 2 years of minutes of a committee. She observed the Parkinson's law, but not the law of triviality. She introduced the law as accepted folklore. In 1999, Paul Camp popularized it, using the term bike shedding, as he was complaining about too much time spent discussing features that were not important for a project. In recent years, Zalewski and crew have done some research about some biases impacting IT architectural decisions. Law of triviality is not seen as one much relevant. Finding more information rather than analogies and folklore that supports this has been tough. Let's talk a little how I think this bias may affect me. There are mainly two roles you can have in a meeting: organizer or attendee. I am organizing 35% of the meetings I attend. I have a pledge to host well-organized meetings, and I believe I meet it 30% of the time. I do not have any data to support this though. The problem is, I think, in the 65% of the meetings that I attend, when at least 1 in 5, I get stuck at least once in discussing something that is not relevant. I am a victim of the law of triviality and self-awareness deficiencies, and everybody else is a victim too, of my deficiencies. Now let's see how to avoid this bias. Importance and triviality is a continuum, and mostly it is about perception. So giving an absolute score of importance or triviality might be impossible. You might use Daniel Kahneman's suggestion about using relative rankings between topics. This is more important or this is less important. As you probably imagine, when you are organizing meetings, the cure is good meeting facilitation, using criteria to evaluate the importance or criticality of issues or items in the agenda. Alternatively, you can rank relatively. Size the agenda appropriately. Specify the topics being discussed and the time allocated for it. Respect the time. If you still need to address less important issues in the meeting, try other decision-making processes, like voting. You will find very good suggestions online. Now, let's address those instances where you are attending. If you find yourself in meetings that drag for hours and no decision is made, consider that you might be part of the problem. So let's look at this diagram. Before you talk, you should wait. Why am I talking? I have something important to share. This is the right time to share. This is a fact, not an opinion. Saying this is part of my job. I have an on-topic contribution. It is my turn to talk. Someone hasn't made this contribution already. State your point. I'm not saying this is 100% useful or applicable, but I think some self-awareness and moderation is always good. Reflect on yourself. Now we proceed, as I promised, to the evaluation of the video. I consider that I scored a 4.5. The weak point, I didn't give an example of myself. This is a bias that is hard to understand in hindsight. I need data, and I try to provide some estimations of where I think I failed. And now we turn to our roulette for the topic of the next video, and the winner is moral luck. See you in the next episode. This is the Recognitive channel. Thank you for watching.